Hello and welcome to another episode of the Perth to Paisley Podcast, a podcast discussing Heart and Midlothian Football Club. The Jambos won 4 from 4 in their Premier Sports Cup group, didn't concede a single goal in the process, but have been drawn away to this weekend's opponents, Celtic at Parkhead in the round of 16. To discuss all of that, I, Adam Kennedy, am joined by Daniel McIver once more. Mr. McIver, how are we?
I'm very good. It's still absolutely melting in Scotland. We had insane levels of rain last night and it hasn't broken the heat. I would just like to call this out actually, because we had some comments from people in the US and stuff like that going, 25 degrees, that's nothing here. Well, in Edinburgh and in Pilton, it is, right? It's very hot and I can't deal with it. However, Hearts have actually been good since we last spoke. So I'm not doing too bad. And I got that, which is now in the background for audio listeners. I got a PS5 and I'm just showing it off in the background. That's why you should be watching the YouTube video. Adam, how are you doing?
Well said, mate. I'm good, thank you. Yeah, had a wicked and wild weekend prior to the Inverness match. Obviously, before we get chatting about Heart and Midlothian, I've got to give a wee shout out to some Jambos that I met on the train in Motherwell on Saturday night on a wee night out. So I've got to say that I can't wait to hear the Burnt Ginger podcast with Ginger Liam, the big man, and Pump. So hopefully that's coming to a podcast platform near you.
Please stop doing this. It's going to his head. He thinks he's bigger than he actually is. Enough of the recognising him. Stop it now.
We'll soon both be big-time bastards, mate. We'll be fine.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And speaking of big-time bastards, let's talk about our football club. Obviously, like you touched on, we've had 2 games since we last spoke. The first of which, we took on Stirling Albion at Forth Bank in our 3rd Premier Sports Cup match. Before we discuss the game itself, Daniel, that stream, I mean, we've had difficulties, recording this episode. What do you think was worse? The episode frustration or that stream? Because I've got to be honest, I've seen many a terrible stream in my life. That has got to top the lot.
Yeah, I think it says a lot that this is obviously going out a day late and we're having to just a peel behind the curtain, breaking the kayfabe with the Perth to Paisley podcast. We're recording this 4 hours before it goes up due to technical difficulties, and it is still better than that Stirling Albion stream. Just atrocious. I tweeted within 2 minutes it was the worst stream I'd ever paid for in my life. Listen, I get it, right? They're a League 2 side and suddenly they're playing a Premiership side. So there was over 1,000 people watching it at once. They're probably not used to that. But
that dial-up's just gone, isn't
it? Exactly. And listen, I lived in Stirling for 4 years. The internet's quite rubbish there, right? I get that. But then don't provide it. Don't they get annoyed and kind of sarky on Twitter when loads of Hearts fans are going, I've paid a tenner to watch this. And because it was just I can't remember the first half. I just can't remember what happened apart from the goal.
Never mind the first half. I can't remember the vast majority of the 90 minutes. Yeah. It was only once I was watching the highlights back on Hearts TV that I was then able to kind of just put 2 and 2 together. I mean, it really was. It was like, I'm trying to think of the first FIFA I've ever played.
I know what FIFA I played. My first FIFA was
the camera angles was just, I think I was about 04. So around then, I mean, chances are, your PlayStation graphics were probably better than that.
Yeah.
And 2, you've got the 5 behind you. So that just shows how long.
Yes, exactly. If it ran on that, it would have been 4K 1080 as opposed to fucking Super Nintendo levels of absolute shite that they were. And I just didn't like how they were just lads, it's the heat. I saw at the weekend it happened again. It did it in their Premier Sports Cup game, the other one. So it's that's the excuse. Fair, listen. They did kind of fix it for the second half, in fair play. I thought the commentary was really good. I thought it was really unbiased.
Yeah.
There was an element of in other games that we've played in the last couple of seasons, particularly in this competition, the commentators, Arbroath really sticks out in my mind for being famous for how biased they are. I know that one of the commentators on the Stirling Albion feed was a Hearts fan. I know that.
I was about to say exactly that. Do you think it's just down to that then?
Maybe. I don't know. I just didn't like, again, the pronunciations. I don't know how you can mispronounce Ginelli so badly.
Josh Ginley.
It's like, it's not even... I mean, you've got the G and the Y. Like, you've got the start and end.
It's got the gin. It's literally that middle nail. That's all that's missing. But we touched on two former Jambos, one of which I've now learnt the correct pronunciation of, funnily enough, which was Dylan Beakey and Dale Carrick. They both sort of looked the most likely to score for the Albion, if anyone. I think it was Beakey shot straight at Craig Gordon early on. But...
Sorry, this is blowing my mind. What do you mean his name's Beakey?
Well, that's what I heard from Scarves Around the Funnel.
Oh my God, my entire worldview has changed. I thought it was just Dylan Beakey.
Yes, so did I, but
wow,
apparently not. I mean, I've taken that from Laurie, so...
Oh, if it's Laurie, that'll be wrong. That'll be complete bollocks. It's Dylan Beakey.
Well, our man Dylan shot straight at Craig Gordon early on, but I think from what we saw of the game, due to the shocking stream, I don't think there was any real doubt that Hearts were going to nick all 3 points and qualification on the night, was there?
Yeah, literally that one chance really early on where I think Halliday misplaced a pass in the middle of the park and
that's right.
It led through. I will say, I definitely agree we didn't look like conceding. A big part of that, in my opinion, was the guy who I would have given man of the match to really was Craig Halkett. Because I just felt like in that moment where Dylan ran past him, Halkett just went, okay, I know what your game's going to be then. And he just dropped a yard so that he wasn't touch tight with the striker. Both strikers, actually, because Carrick was trying to do it as well. He wasn't touch tight with them, so they couldn't just get a ton of them and go. He just dropped a yard, and it meant that whenever they fed the ball, they had to beat him instead of just getting past. And in the second half, we'll get to it, he made a really good challenge. His positional awareness really helped it, and it allowed players like Suter and Smith to be able to just completely come out from the back. And it meant that we just looked so solid defensively, which weirdly has kind of been a theme for the last wee while, that we actually look quite solid at the back.
No, I get that, and I think that's down to, I mean, obviously, if we go through the lineup, we're rocking that 3-4-3 yet again. It was Craig Gordon in goal, that back three of Stephen Kingsley, you've mentioned Craig Halkett and John Suter, Alex Cochrane and Michael Smith at left and right wing back, respectively. Andy Halliday and Peter Haring were in the middle of the park with Gary Mackay-Steven and Josh Ginley supporting Liam Boyce in attack. I'm not going to lie, I thought that the club were kind of clutching at straws when putting the highlights package together because, look, we're pleased with the result, another clean sheet, all that good stuff, but it certainly wasn't a classic. And, you know, what you said there, we'll touch on the second half because we didn't actually have a great deal in that first half, to be honest, besides, you know, I think Stephen Kingsley sent a wayward effort over the bar. We are obviously delighted to have Liam Boyce on the podcast next week, and he would open the scoring after a filthy flick from Gary Mackay-Steven. But the finish was just as slick, wasn't it? Yeah,
it was one of those defining moments in a game that's not very exciting. You just need moments like that and you'll win the game. And the assist just summarised why people wanted Gary Mackay-Steven. It was just a moment you go, that's what you get Gary Mackay-Steven for. Something just, the ball comes into his feet and without even thinking about it, he just flicks it back and it's a perfectly weighted pass to Liam Boyce. And it's one of those chances that Boyce isn't going to miss. He's like, it's just him one-on-one with the keeper. It's actually quite a good finish as well. He kind of puts it past the keeper. But yeah, I fully agree. It very much was just like, that was really good, but the general game wasn't amazing. I think it was just quite a professional start to finish with moments of flair that got us through it.
I mean, we had a couple chances. I say that. GMS shot into the side netting. Michael Smith had his effort, you know, palm past the post. But I think if we're looking at the performance, we've said it's professional. Was there still that little bit of concern for you with regards to the fact that we were only 1-0 up? You know, I say it all the time. Had we got that second goal earlier, the game would have been killed off even earlier than it was in the end.
I get that point, and see, for example, this Saturday, I will fully agree with that when you're only 1-0 up against a quality opposition. But I just felt that whenever we went ahead in that game, and I've kind of felt like that in all these cup games, we're then going to win. like the game's done. Most of the teams we've come up against, kind of barring Cove pushed forward a wee bit. Most teams have just come to set up and frustrate us and try and nick a point against us. When they've then went down, they don't really know what to do because they don't have... And it's not their fault. It's just a mismatch in the quality kind of thing. So when we're in this division that we're going into and the start of the new season, then it will kind of be like, okay, yeah, we're 1-0 up, but we need to get another one to kill it. Whereas against Stirling Albion, I was kind of just like, even if it went 0-0 in like the 80th minute, I would have been like, we're going to get a goal here.
I mean, I sort of share that same viewpoint, but Dale Carrick very nearly came back to kind of haunt us. A superb stop from Craig Gordon. Peter Haring nods wide. We had a Nanduli effort that was hooked off the line, but with no replay. I couldn't see if it was over or not. Andy Halliday, I think, blazed one over. But, I mean, this is just off the Hearts highlights package because, like I say, that stream was genuinely hopeless. But Finlay Pollock is somebody that I want to touch on because he was replaced in the starting 11 by Peter Haring for this match. And coincidentally, the 17-year-old replaced the Austrian to seal the deal against the Albion and ensure that we left Fourth Bank with 3 wins in as many games. Obviously, again, another 3 points and qualification for the next round after finishing from an Alex Cochrane pullback. I'm going to ask you this because it's fresh in my mind, but I was listening to the Sports Sound podcast en route home from work today, and Craig Levine has likened him to Colin Cameron. Now, everybody knows that there are fewer greater Heart and Midlothian comparisons, but I just think we've got such a high or a hot prospect here. How high do you think that the ceiling is for this young man?
It's a hard question because we kind of all thought this about Cochrane when he first broke in as well. And to an extent, Andy Irvine, although Andy Irvine kind of lived up to it to an extent in terms of the game time he got for us. I think Finlay Pollock looks very, very good. I was delighted for him to get his goal. I kind of shared Robbie's sentiments where I wish there had been Hearts fans in attendance. I wish it had been at Tynecastle where he hit the post against Cove, and then we'll speak about against Inverness. He had a very similar chance. It would have been great for him to get it at home, but he's off the mark so early. He's very much I get the Colin Cameron comparisons. He's very much a box-to-box midfielder. You don't often see them nowadays, just with the way the game's changed. Hartley's the last one that we kind of had. McNeff was brought in as kind of that, but we've not properly seen it yet due to kind of lack of game time.
Can I just say, everybody's been dubbed the new Colin Cameron. I can think of Aaron McInnes, Finlay Pollock. Was Sean Clare not also touted as the next Colin Cameron at one stage?
I think he was. Barry Levine, I think, as well. Yeah, so apparently everybody is who's a midfielder. Like, if you're a midfielder, you're the next Colin Cameron. But I just think we need to take it slow with him. We need to remember he's just 17. He's got to go through dips of form. I get the argument of keep playing him when he's playing well. I actually agreed with Robbie taking him out the starting lineup. You don't want to burn them out. That's the worst thing you can possibly do for someone at his age. Cochrane, we kind of went too far the other way, where we just went, right, you've been very good, and now we'll put you out on loan for like 2 years. And it's like, that's a bit of a weird thing.
And given how poorly we performed that season, I think it'd be harsh to say that all our hopes were pinned upon Harry Cochrane, but they kind of were.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty fair comment. That's the good thing about Pollock coming through when he is, because we aren't just pinning our hopes. We have a lot of players around him that we go, right, we'll rely on your Liam Boyces, your Josh Janellis, your, in recent times, GMS.
But if you can contribute, then by all means.
100%. And it means that there's no pressure on him. Like, there's not going to be pressure on him anyway. He's a 17-year-old just coming into the team. No one's expecting a lot. But if we were in a situation with Cochrane where it's like, we don't have a lot around you and you've shown promise, so therefore, come on, Harry, get it sorted. Finlay Pollock, thankfully, is not in that position. He took his goal well, very much just right place at the right time. But he scored. He was clearly delighted. His dad was buzzing on Twitter, which is great to see. And I do have a lot of hopes for him. Obviously, Robbie's made it clear that he will be with us until at least January, whereas the other ones that we've seen in the last couple of weeks are going out on loan.
I was going to ask you about that. What's your kind of stance on the whole loan debate?
I get the argument with players like Leo Watson and stuff like that, which I've made in the last couple of weeks, where it's pointless him just sitting on the bench for us being covered.
Harry Stone's another.
Yeah, 100%.
Instantly springs to my mind.
Yeah. Leo Watson, Harry Stone, Connor Hamilton, and stuff like that. They're going out and getting like 15 to 20 games in a season in the lower leagues. That will do so much more than just being backup for some. I know that it's like, well, they'll be in and around it, but we've heard that Harry Stone is still training with us as well as parting, so he's still getting the benefits of Craig Gordon. You have to imagine that if the players like Leo Watson and stuff like that are going to League One or Two clubs, they're still able to train with us as well. I'm not sure about Connor Hamilton or Arbroath because I know they're still a part-time team, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening with that. But with Pollock, it's clear that he isn't just there as like seventh choice midfielder who's just there to be a part of the atmosphere. He's getting game time. So I fully understand keeping him until January, because what you can do is you can reevaluate it. You go, right, we're here, January transfer window's just opened. Has he played twice?
I was going to say, you've played a grand total of however many minutes. And
yeah, 100%. Yeah. You can go, right, okay, we'll put you out on loan. You're not getting into the team because hopefully that is because we've got a settled midfield that's playing well. So you go, we don't want to break that up. Or you go in January, well, actually, you've been contributing quite a fair amount. It's not as much as your Peter Herrings, your Andy Hallidays and stuff like that, but you're still there getting regular minutes. So actually, we'll keep you for the rest of the season, and then come next summer, we can reevaluate if we want to keep you inside or move on. I genuinely think we're actually handling our youngsters well for the first time in like 4 years.
I was going to touch on that because I feel as though the Harry Stone route that the club seem to adopt, I'm liking the look of that, where it starts non-league, then he gets a League Two move. Don't get me wrong, I think the jump from League Two to Championship is quite drastic, but I noticed Thistle, he seems to be, starting just about every game for them, if not every game for them. Mm-hmm. So I think it's, I like the gradual kind of upgrade that we seem to be implying with him specifically, and I don't know whether that'll transpire to kind of the outfield players, but that'll be an interesting one to see anyway. But young Finlay was rewarded with a start at the weekend, alongside Armand Nondoué, with both John Souttar and Peter Haring making way, meaning that Hearts lined up in a 4-4-2 as they took on Inverness Caledonian Thistle at Tynecastle. At least, so it first seemed to me. We'll get to that later, but it was Craig Gordon in goal, back four of Michael Smith, Craig Halkett, Stephen Kingsley and Alex Cochrane, with Finlay Pollock and Andy Halliday in the middle of the park. Gary Mackay-Steven and Josh Ginnelly therefore supported Liam Boyce, partnering Armand Nondoué, like I said, up front.
No, it didn't.
I don't think so, because, if I ask you first and foremost, were you surprised with the changes, both in personnel and what we thought was a change in formation, Mr. McIver?
I'm not surprised in the personnel. I was a wee bit surprised in the formation. The personnel, not so much, because I saw John Souttar get hurt. In the last 5 minutes, I can't remember what it actually was, but he takes a knock. And I just went, he's hurt. Do not risk him. There is no point in doing it. We need him for Celtic, for God's sake. Haring, I think it's just a rotation, because I think, if I'm right in saying, we've played a different midfield two every single game of this Betfred Cup, Premier Sports Cup. Robbie Nielsen did that. Robbie Nielsen said the Betfred Cup and then very quickly was like, I'm really sorry, it's the Premier Sports Cup now.
I'm fully convinced that everybody's had a faux pas and dropped the Betfred name in there at least once. It's just, It seems to have been the sponsor for as long as I can recall. Genuinely.
I know. But yeah, I thought the formation was a weird one. And we said a couple of weeks ago that the most crucial players to that 3-4-3 are Boyce, Ginnelly, Smith and Souttar. What I didn't realise that meant was that if one of them is out, we can't play it at all. And I get it with Souttar, because Souttar is the ball carrier who takes it out of the back three and takes it forward into either the middle of the park or plays a ball out wide. I trust Stephen Kingsley to do that, though.
I thought there were various points where Andy Halliday was dropping in, becoming that guy.
I don't think... I saw so many people say Halliday's dropping into centre-half. I don't think he was dropping into centre-half. I think he was dropping into like a 6, where he was just like in front.
Well, this is why I was confused regarding the formation, because initially to me, I thought it was a 4-4-2. Then I saw Liam Boyce drop really deep. And then
Boyce was playing centre mid.
Yeah, and I'm like, is Boyce meant to be in the hole here? Or what's the script? I saw Andy Halliday drop back to again sort of fill in like I touched on. Like, why? It seemed so deep. And this is something else that I want to get to, because obviously we knew the script. Well, I say that. Did we know the script? Because obviously, as it transpired, St Mirren grabbed a second goal in the 95th minute through club captain Joe Shaughnessy. So then we have to win by 2 to become a seeded team. Yet, I just felt the game was played at such a low tempo. I thought there was a real lack of intensity. And we touched on it there. You know, grab the goals early and then just worry about it later on. If we'd have killed the game within the first half hour, then job done, and would have been a seeded side. But it didn't appear that way. And even late on, you know, I saw somebody make the point on Twitter. I think it was it John Cowan made the point on Twitter where if Hearts knew we had to grab a second, why was there such a lack of urgency?
So I'm laughing, right? Because following the game, I had a 50-minute phone call with my dad where we could not have been on more different sides of the argument. My dad was very much on your side of the argument, right?
Which is?
Very much like lack of intensity. This is a failure. We should have been seeded. We knew we had to get 2. I came at it from the perspective of, I don't think urgency was the problem, because in my opinion, it was one of those games where 9 times out of 10, we win that game 3 or 4-0. It was a game where a goalkeeper had literally, I do not say this lightly, Mark Ridges had the best performance of his career. Like, I don't see how that could be. Listen, I know I haven't really paid attention to Mark Ridges' career since he left us. I was shocked to hear that he only played 4 games for us. I thought it was much more than 4.
Wow. I mean, I don't even know what I'd have guessed, but again, probably more than 4. I mean...
That's coming from Mr. Laurie Dunsire, though, so it also could be bollocks.
I'm going to hold my hands up, because my thoughts appear to have changed with regards to the 90 minutes. Because once, again, I've watched the highlights back, as I always do in preparation for the pod, I didn't feel when I was there that we had anywhere near as many first half opportunities as it appeared on Hearts TV. I think the first noteworthy one was kind of a Liam Boyce drive where it's virtually straight at Ridgers, but there's a lot of power, and that sort of wakes the crowd up. I think it's after about a quarter of an hour. But again, like, I don't know, that first half had enraged me. Well, not enraged me because we're through, but it was underwhelming. It was a bit disappointing.
It is you. It definitely enraged you. It's you.
I mean, we talked about Boyce. I want to touch on Big Nandwillie as well. I thought he appeared so off the pace, and I think this was his first kind of, well, certainly his first start. I was about to say his first appearance of the season, but his first start of the season. His chances appeared from kind of tight angles. There was one where he's on the left-hand side of the box, shoots across Ridgers to his left, palmed away, and there's one where I actually thought he should shoot, but instead he looks to kind of feed Boyce at the back stick. Am I being too harsh on the big man, or did he appear off the boil for you?
I think you're being a bit harsh. I think definitely in front of goal, he didn't look kind of
as sharp.
His usual self. I'm almost about to say, like, when he's been in like close contact in the 18-yard box, he's actually looked all right. But
you're a big fan of his.
Yeah, I actually felt his all-round game was quite good. I saw he won 100% of his aerial duels. He's hold-up play.
As you'd expect, given the size of him, going to just say.
I know.
That was my first time seeing him in the flesh, and oh my God.
He is massive. Like,
he's enormous.
I will say, though, but how many strikers have we had over the years that you go, you're massive, you should win everything in the air, and they never do?
Uche Piazzi is the one that comes to my mind, just for a recent one. Yeah,
exactly. Like, it is actually quite refreshing to have a player who's massive and goes, I know I'm massive, I'm just going to win everything. I felt his hold-up play was really good. Every single time we pumped a ball up, he basically just won it, took it down and played it off. I definitely think he could have been better in front of goal. But again, I felt people were a wee bit harsh on him, his all-round play generally. I cannot get annoyed about this game because it doesn't bother me if we're a seeded team or not. I know that the argument is we've now got Celtic away, but to win a cup in Scotland, you're going to have to play one of them. So it doesn't really matter when you. But I know that St Johnstone last season won a cup without playing one of them, right? I know that, but that's a complete deviation from the rule. And they won 2 cups last season, and they had to beat Rangers in one of them. You basically do have to play the Old Firm, one half of them at least once. We had to do it twice. We had to play both of them in last season's Scottish Cup. Yes, being seeded is where we should be. But if it wasn't for St Mirren being handed a 3-0 win due to COVID, us coming up against a keeper who was in the form of his life for this one game. Like, for example, the 2 saves I think of were right at the end of the first half, the Finlay Pollock one.
That was a great save.
I've no idea how he saves it. And then the second half, where he has about 3 shots in about 4 seconds that end up coming off the post.
Don't even go there, because that's exactly what I was going to touch on. I actually thought I was going to be £25 richer because the wingers linked up, and it's the one that he makes from Gary Mackay-Stevens' volley, and then, like you say, the resulting corner. We hit the post in twice in quick succession, I should say. And again, it's through Nando and Pollock, who were looking the most likely to score again, given how deep Liam Boyce was. But I mean, we touched on Nandwile's kind of aerial presence there. We'll obviously touch on the draw, but Nandwile's aerial presence obviously plays a part in the goal, which would eventually come with, what was it? I think it was just over a quarter of an hour to play. Jamie Walker comes off the bench, grabs what proves the winner due to Michael Smith's clearance being blasted up the park. Armand Nandwile flicking on to Liam Boyce, who plays the supporting role for once in this game, given, like we say, so deep, and plays a lovely ball through to Jamie Walker, which, again, he's still got a lot to do, and it's a smart finish beyond Mark Ridgers.
It is. It's a really good goal all round. Like, it exemplifies everybody's strengths. Like a big long ball up to Nandwile, he wins it, he knocks it down. Boyce takes it really well. His first touch is great. He then plays just a really simple, weighted pass to Walker, who I think just takes a couple of touches. And it's just, again, Ridgers nearly gets it, which is insane because it's placed so well, but the power just kind of takes it away from him. It's a great finish. It was a really, really good goal. I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think Walker deserved man of the match?
Yeah, I do. To be honest, I think it's as decent a cameo as we've seen from Jamie Walker, and I don't say that lightly because last season there were numerous off the bench, particularly I think toward the second half of the season. But no, I do. I felt as though he was at the heart of everything, and we touched on Hearts potentially, scoring 3 or 4. Jamie Walker himself could have scored 3 or 4 off the bench for me.
I literally only remember 2 things that he did. I remember his goal and inexplicably in the 88th minute taking it to the corner.
See, well, that was the kind of lack of urgency thing. I also remember there's a chance, I can't remember how the ball gets played over to the back post, and again, Walker tries to beat Ridgers at his near post, but it's another smart stop. I was going to ask you, it's a simple question, but we know that you're not Jamie Walker's biggest fan. Can he contribute for Hearts this season?
Off the bench in the last 15 minutes in games, yes. From starting, no.
15 minutes? Yeah. Would that be all that you'd give him?
At complete maximum 20, but that's it.
Wow.
Like, he's just proved it. Like, Hearts, though, put on Twitter, after Walker scored, it was like, I can't be bored with another season of Jamie Walker chat, and I'm exactly the same. I just can't be bored with it. We have what it is like finalised. He is shown last season when he comes off the bench, he does very well, and I'm more than happy for him to fulfil that role. He doesn't do well when he starts. Like, there are now so many examples of it that you can no longer say, oh, well, he had one bad game when he started, or oh, he had one good game when coming off the bench, but he's not been that good. It's like, when you look at his performances, the top 5 in the last 18 months have all been from the bench, and the bottom 5 have all been from when he started. I have made it clear, listen, I'd be happier if he left in the summer, right? I'd be happy with it, but mainly just because so we don't need to keep having this discourse over and over and over again. I think Robbie has made it crystal clear his fitness isn't up to it, and that's his issue. I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just saying, though, he needs to take that into himself and go, right, how can I improve this? Because now Robbie's been very good at kind of protecting his players. I really commend Robbie for that. But when your manager's just coming out after 18 months and a full pre-season going, he's no fit, like, what more can you do as a manager to get the best out of him?
Did you catch Barry Anderson's interview with him? Because I only saw the tweet.
I've missed it. No,
I only saw the tweet, and he was adamant that he is fully fit.
I just don't think he is.
I don't know whether there's beef between he and Robbie Nielsen, but maybe that's just one to kind of speculate until we've got, confirmation or whatnot. Yeah. I've got to be honest. I mean, you're a big Jamie Walker critic. I'm a big Robbie Nielsen critic. I'm actually surprised that he took Finlay Pollock off to allow Jamie to come on, but it just goes to show that even despite me not being his biggest fan, I'm willing to admit that he got it spot on, because that's obviously why he's in the dugout and I'm on here. But I don't know. I just felt as though Walker was at the heart of everything as soon as he came on. And yes, it's championship opposition. And yes, he's proven that, and on a couple of occasions last season.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not disagreeing with that.
I just love for this to be the first. Yeah, I just love for this to be the first, even if it is just cameos off the bench.
That's what I mean. I am fine with it. Like, if that's what he ends up being, then fine. It probably doesn't justify his wage, but fine.
No.
Like, I will never argue against him being a good impact sub. He really is. And another thing that's out of his control, part of that is because of his injuries. Like, his knee injury has meant that he's lost stuff, and that's not his fault. That's nothing to do with fitness. Even at peak fitness, he's not going to be the way he was before he did his knee. And I'm not trying to deride him for that. What is infuriating is, and that's what it all comes down to. That's why people like me who are so annoyed by Walker, and even people like you who really like him, everybody can agree that the reason we're all annoyed is because we know how good he can be on his day. Yeah. And it's just that we want him to show it consistently, and I don't think he can do that from a starting position in the team. Particularly, if you look at his competition, right, isn't Finlay Pollock. That was just because, in Robbie's eyes, in my opinion, we needed a second goal, so he just brought on as many attacks as he could. But in the actual formation, he either comes out for Ginnelly or GMS. I don't think you can drop Ginnelly.
Despite the fact that he's probably not a winger.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. He's not. In the 3-4-3, that formation doesn't suit him at all. Like, Ginnelly, I don't think has had a great week. Like, I thought he wasn't great against Albion or against Inverness, but I'm really not going to hold that against him. GMS, I've been very critical of him, but in the last kind of 8 games, I can't say anything negative about him. He's been fantastic. I just don't think, in my opinion, you should drop either of them from the start in favour of Jamie Walker, who the argument is, well, he's sometimes good for a final 15 minutes.
No, I can't disagree with that, mate. Obviously, we've had our kind of differences with regards to him being man of the match. It's clear to see that Michael Gardine thought he was a threat. What did you make of that challenge that saw him be issued with a red card?
I think it is a red. I know some people are going, it's a bit harsh, but from behind, studs up, he scissors his legs. Like, in And I know everyone's like, in the modern game, that's a red. But we're in the modern game. So that is like almost the dictionary definition of a red. It just came out of nowhere as well. It was like, oh, okay, the game's kind of petering out. Oh, he's just absolutely halved Walker.
It certainly woke me up. I mean, it was right in front of me, and I could hear Jamie scream from, up quite a fair distance in the stand. But no, I mean, that was kind of the last sort of noteworthy bit of action within the game. Because to be honest, the goal, the sending off, and I think we've touched on just about every chance.
Can I just say,
it's so frustrating.
The reason I wouldn't give Walker man of the match, I'm not saying that because I think he played badly. I'm just saying I would have given Cochrane man of the match. I thought he was really, really good. Like, he made that challenge that saved us from conceding.
I'll give him credit there. I just felt as though too many times it was play the ball backwards. That drives me nuts.
That's fine, and I get that, and that is a valid criticism, right? But I just think he's more of a defensive fullback. I don't think he's the. I think Smith, because for example, right.
This is where we're going to disagree. I actually think he's better offensively than defensively.
See, I think he's better defensively in covering runs, tracking back,
interesting,
making interceptions. I'm not saying, by the way, I think he's bad offensively because he's got like 2 assists or something, and he actually knows how to put in a corner that beats the first man. It's a revelation. We've still never done anything from them. But
that's a 4-year deal incoming right
exactly.
there.
His corners always go into the middle of the box, which is genuinely an achievement. But I just think he's really defensively sound. He knows he's not the fastest, so he always gives up yards like Halkett was doing in the Stirling game. And it meant that every single time Inverness attacked down his side, he was just fortified in a position, and he made the defender choose to either hit the byline, which he wanted them to do, or he would get tight with Kingsley. So if they wanted to cut in, Kingsley would just come across and tackle him. It's really intelligent defensive play that can sometimes be missed, which I always find harsh on defenders. And I know the thing is that I'm a defender, so I'll always stick up for defenders and stuff like that. But I just find it a bit unfair on some people, like when you drop in to cover or when you kind of shimmy someone out to the side and that doesn't look like you're doing it, but he definitely does. I fully agree that often he could find a pass either into the middle of the park or just in front of him and he'll choose the safe option. But I can almost understand that when it's such an attacking formation, you need someone to kind of just slow everything down occasionally, particularly this Saturday against Celtic. I hope we play this 3-4-3, but we still need to be defensively solid. We can't just be like, oh, it's fine, fullbacks, wingers, everybody going forward. Cochrane, I think, will be really good, especially because Cochrane will have to, we'll get into it, but Cochrane will have to mark that new Amada or whatever his name is, who looks quite good.
See, I thought he was on the other side, but I was going to say that I think what you said about Cochrane dropping in, that's obviously just down to Michael Smith being Michael Smith, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know whether my frustrations come with him because I'm looking at Michael Smith and thinking, can you do similar? I don't know. I get
that because
I'm still skeptical.
I get that. Michael Smith is like a god amongst men. But it's very similar to what happens in, excuse me, this sounds like a ridiculous comparison, right? But it's like with Bayern Munich, right?
Oh my goodness, this is a ridiculous comparison. I want out of here.
What I mean by that is that Bayern Munich have 2 fullbacks who are almost, the only comparison you have between them is that they play left back and right back. Joshua Kimmich is like Michael Smith in the sense of he just goes, I'm playing everywhere. Fuck the system. I'm playing right back. I'm playing right wing. I'm going to tuck into centre half. I'm going to play CDM. I'm going to play centre mid and playing spraying passes.
He's got Michael Smith posters on his bedroom wall.
Exactly. Whereas Alphonso Davies is, I'm not saying this is a criticism of Davies. He's one of the best left backs in the world. He's very much just like kind of one tone. He's like, I'm just going to get this ball and drive because I'm fast as fuck. But as a result, it means that him and Kimmich, whenever one of them does one thing, the other one drops in. So when Kimmich moves forward, Davis with his pace goes, okay, I can drop in. It's and only when... yeah, exactly. Kimmich is fantastically defensively. I think when Smith moves forward, particularly when he moves into the middle of the park, kind of in front of Suter or Halkett, Cochrane realises that and goes, right, I now need to drop a wee bit deeper in line with the other centre-halves, because if they then break from that side, they've potentially got an overload, and Cochrane wants to stop that.
I mean, you're going to know better than me. There you go. I don't know if you've just taken that from Robbie's notes or whatever.
No, I don't know. I actually don't think he wants Cochrane to be as defensive as he actually is. I think he wants Cochrane
to push on.
To whenever he gets it, almost overlap. But Cochrane seems a wee bit hesitant to do that. I don't know if that's just because he's relatively new into the system. He's playing quite well where he is. He doesn't necessarily want to take a risk. I hope that he doesn't decide to take those risks on Saturday and go, this is the first time I'm going to do it, when I have the opportunity to do it against Stirling Albion and Cove. But I think Cochrane's been quietly very, very solid.
It would be quite something if we go from kind of a 5-2-3 into a 3-2-5.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be quite the sight. But I mean, let's touch on the Premier Sports Cup draw, because we've mentioned the fact that frustration has arisen with fans due to Hearts being unseeded. You know, COVID issues with kind of St Mirren being awarded 3-0 victories. I also think everybody seems to overlook the fact that Dundee United won one of their games 6-1. I can't remember who it was against. I want to say East Fife.
I think it was East Fife, yeah.
Don't quote me on that. But of course, if we run through it, I mean, the seeded sides were the 5 in European action. So Rangers, Celtic, St Johnstone, Aberdeen and Hibernian, both Dundee clubs. And of course, St Mirren, like we mentioned. The unseeded, the group winners were, of course, ourselves, A United, Kilmarnock, Motherwell, Wraith Rovers, and they were joined by group runners-up Dunfermline, Arbroath and Livingston. Looking elsewhere, and before we kind of touch on the draw itself, I think another sort of wee snippet, a wee Hearts highlight was the group stages. Scott McGill's goal for Airdrie. I mean, talk about making an impact on your Diamonds debut. Lanarkshire derby, up against Premiership opposition. I mean, he's your boy, so let's just talk us through the goal.
I just love him to pieces. Listen, I love Finlay Pollock, right? I love him. Scott McGill, I've got Scott McGill posters. They're just over there, you just can't see them. He signed like 3.5 hours before. 61 minutes, nothing's happening. The game's pretty rubbish. 62nd minute, Scott McGill enters the pitch. 63rd minute, Airdrie go 1-0 up for an absolute raker of a free kick for Rhys McCabe. And then like 10 minutes later, McGill's involved in everything. He's getting the diamonds at the diamonds. He's just playing passes constantly. Then he gets the ball. You can see the Motherwell defenders going, that's just an Airdrie player. They don't realise that they're in the park with Scott McGill. He just takes a touch and absolutely tans it into the top left. And he runs away celebrating with them as if he's been there all year. Like, I think he must have met them in the dressing room. But, like, what a hit, what a goal. His performance was brilliant in the last half an hour that he featured in. I'll be honest, I don't know how they did at the weekend.
They got battered off Queen of the South, I think, if my memory serves me, because they had the potential to go through. But Motherwell beat Annan at home, and then Queen's obviously battered Airdrie. So I think
Scott McGill either wasn't playing or he was the only good player for Airdrie. That's the two situations that we found.
It does feel a bit bizarre that we're kind of loaning him to Ian Murray, though.
That was the one thing. It was, yay, Scott McGill! And it cut to Ian Murray celebrating. I was like, oh, you've made him happy. Oh, wait, now I kind of wish you hadn't done that. But yeah, a fantastic goal, and I genuinely think he's going to do really well at Airdrie, and I hope he just comes back and slots into the midfield, because I genuinely think he's going to be really good.
Listen, we've got high hopes for everyone, haven't we? We're just banging various teenagers' drums. That sounds a bit wrong, but it's we're championing them. That's the future. The future's maroon, people. Believe.
The youngsters just won 3-0 yesterday as well.
There you go.
I can't wait till they were playing.
All this kind of brilliant. Is that insightful analysis? That's why you're here.
I've just went on this massive analytical rant about low blocks and overloads and stuff like that in the red, and then I'm just like, I love Scott McGill and the deck in who the under-20s were playing.
I mean, we've talked about the future. Let's touch on the draw now. The future ties to come. Obviously,
inevitable.
It was. I mean, coming back from the game, I was listening to the draw with my dad in the car, and various balls have been hooked out, and then lo and behold, Celtic number 2 at Parkhead for a tie. We're yet to be drawn, and we both just turned to one another and went 9. It was just so obvious, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I was watching it on TV and just going, as every kind of like the bigger clubs started to go and go and go, Rangers went, Hibs went, and I was like, Celtic is still in this. And yeah, as soon as it was 2 at home, I was like, right, okay, that's us. And I almost didn't even watch it. I was just like, right, okay, that's us. Listen, it's annoying, but I just really don't have the energy to get annoyed about the League Cup.
Does it not bug you though, given how long it's been since we won it?
I think that actually adds to my care. Like, I just did care about it. Like, it's like, oh, we're never going to win it. Let's just fucking move on. If we win it, class. If we don't, I'm never that angry about it. It's like, focus on the league and the big cup.
But we're never going to win the league.
I know, but this is the other part of the conversation I had with my dad. My relationship with the League Cup's great because it's only positive. Because I get annoyed if we get beat, much as I get annoyed if we lose any game. But I've just never been asked about the League Cup, ever. And I think it is because we've never won it in like 2 generations.
In our father's lifetimes.
Yeah, but I just kind of do feel like, right, obviously, I start caring about the League Cup when we get to the semis. That's when I start giving a shit about this competition.
Well, we've got Celtic to try and beat in the round of 16, and elsewhere in the round of 16, the ties to be played on the 14th and 15th of August are Rangers versus Dunfermline, Arbroath host St Johnstone, Hibernian got Kilmarnock. I mean, Easter Road, recently relegated Kilmarnock, really? Ayr United against Dundee United at Somerset Park, Wraith Rovers take on Aberdeen at Starks Park, Motherwell travel to Dens to take on Dundee, and Livingston host St Mirren, who pipped us to that seeded spot. Do you agree with Robbie's comments and that it was an excellent draw, I believe he said?
I get what he means, because from a management perspective, the nightmare in a weird way is we get like drawn away at Ayr because there's almost no positive. Because every Hearts fan's going,
pressure.
Yeah, every Hearts fan's going in going, well, if we win, we're expected to win. But there's a massive margin of error. Whereas away at Celtic Park, we've not won since 2009, is it? Like, is that the last time? I think it's like that long. It's either
I had 2007 in my head.
It genuinely might be longer than 2009.
It's been over a decade, put it that way.
So there's a very small, negative opportunity because everybody's going, oh, we're going to get battered. So if we actually get a result, it's like a massive thing. Whereas if we get St Mirren away, it's like, well, you should be beating them. And if we don't, there's a huge, the pressure that we put on him on top of the existing pressure.
I was about to say with the league fixtures and whatnot as well.
Yeah, 100%. I do understand why he said that. He doesn't mean it from a perspective of how easy is that? Getting.
I was going to say, because a man having that arrogance with the Alloa and Broder Rangers defeats, still
that's not what he means.
Firmly in the background. No.
What he means is just, listen, nobody's expecting a lot. So even if we get battered, folk will go, well, we kind of expected that to happen. Right, okay, we move on to the league and the Scottish Cup. Whereas if we get a result, it's like, holy shit, we didn't expect to do anything here. We've actually got... That would do a lot to kind of aid the viewpoint of Robbie within the masses kind of thing.
No, that's fair enough, mate. I mean, we've touched on, the draw. I'm just delighted that the group stage is over, to be honest. And now that the real stuff can begin, obviously, drawn away to Celtic, it now feels like it's a proper cup tie. And I don't mean that as a disrespect to any of the other teams. But before we kind of talk about us hosting them at Tynecastle on Saturday in the league opener, I wanted to touch on the midfield because we've spoken about Scott McGill and the temporary departure. We also, of course, have some other midfield departures, both that have happened and are in the offing. So we're going to touch on Harry Cochrane to Queen of the South first and foremost. 2-year deal. compensation fee due? Your thoughts?
I'll be honest, I think he probably would have wanted a bigger move. Like, when you think of Harry Cochrane, especially the past few years ago, you'd think, oh, okay, somebody like Dundee United will go in for him, like St Mirren, like a bottom half Premiership side will probably go in for him because he's a project. And
or a Championship promotion contender. I mean, I had Hamilton Accies in my head.
Yeah, Hamilton Killie, somebody like that. Like Inverness, maybe even at a push, you can reunite with Anthony McDonald. Listen, it could work out really well for him. It could be one of those moves like almost Nisbet when he moved to Dunfermline, where it's just like, I'm here for a really short time, but I'll massively impress and then get a bigger move. Or, it's very similar to what we said about Irving. It's just a risk in terms of if this doesn't work, you could just be stuck in the lower leagues now forever. But, I mean, good luck to him. I hope he really smashes it. And I think he will do well at that level. I think he'll be fine.
Yes, he'll die. I think this move might give him the kick up the arse that he maybe needs to get in gear and prove his worth and showcase his talent, because he is a talented young player that seems to have fallen through the trapdoor. One that could also be seeing some doors soon, hopefully behind him. Leaving Tynecastle Park.
Listen. We can just move on and not speak about it. We don't need to acknowledge it.
We are. We are, because half of the podcast is delighted, the other half is in ruins. Loic Damour is potentially returning to his native France. Le Mans, which, I mean, all I thought Le Mans were known for is like the Grand Prix. Is that not where the racing goes down? But the football team are of the Championnat National, so the third tier, part-time, and have registered an interest in Loic Damour. You're going to be gutted. I'm going to be delighted if we, send him out on loan. And I mean, it seems to be a loan with a view to a permanent deal with them paying the wage, which, I mean, that's just music to my ears that he's actually going to have to work for his wages.
They wouldn't be paying the wages this season, though.
No, but
they can't cover that. They're a part to. He's not going to go. But I don't mean that in the kind of like, I don't want him to.
Sentimental sense.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't see what. I know he wants to go home, right? So that maybe will override everything, and he just wants to be back in France. And I do get that. I just don't think he'll go from Scottish Premiership Heart of Midlothian, where he's not playing, admittedly, but still, to part-time French side. Like, I just don't see it happening. I just think he'd take a risk, or just go, nah, I'm just going to sit here and know the money. I cannot tell you how much my mentions detonated when this came out. Like, I thought something had happened. I thought you'd done something. And I was like, oh God, what have I been tagged in for him? What's he said now on the account? Because that's my life basically just now, worrying about your stance on things, because then I get thrown into it. But no, it was like, just at DMcCarry22, at DMcCarry22, yes, at DMcCarry22, get in, at DMcCarry22, you'll be gutted, DMcCarry22. And I was like, what is this? And I clicked, and it was the Barry Anderson tweet about it. Listen, no, stop waving goodbye. Loic Damour will still be here. What just makes no sense is, right?
Oh, here we go.
It's that this is the season where he's had a good pre-season. Last season, when he did nothing, there was no moves. He was just sat here getting paid. Now he's had a good pre-season, and now we're like, now we'll get rid of him.
He's in the shop window.
Why wasn't he in the shop window last pre-season? Why wasn't he in the shop window last pre-season?
It's funny because this was kind of my stance on the Inverness game, sort of touching on it. Another player that seems to want to be in the shop window was Jordan Roberts, and I was surprised with the formation change. And I thought he might keep the 3-4-3, but sort of rest GMS and maybe bring in Roberts, given the game's on Premier Sports. He's got, a point to prove against a former club. He's angling for a move anyway. But Robbie's just omitted him from the squad. So how soon do you think it'll be before Jordan Roberts leaves Gorgie?
I think that is a statement from Robbie going, right, you want to fucking speak in the press about how you want to move, right? You're just not playing them, mate. Right? Whatever. We were playing, and I kind of feel like that way for Popescu as well. I feel like Popescu doesn't have a big feature because in the last two games we've played a combination of 6 centre halves in terms of 3 and a 3, and
he's not been one of them.
He's not been one of them, and 4 of them have been fullbacks playing as centre half. Like, I think the writing's on the wall, as you say. We could have stuck with the 3-4-3, but Robbie's literally went, I don't want to play you so badly that I'm going to change the whole system I've been playing the whole of pre-season just so I dare need to play you. I hope Roberts is away. He's just offered nothing ever.
Unless it's in claret and amber.
Exactly. He looked like he had fun at the East Lothian climbing thing with all the team. He looked like he was having a great time. Great, Jordan. I'm delighted for you. But go and just leave.
That's literally my stance towards Lloyd Demure. So
no. Lloyd Demure, I don't even think was in that.
Oh, there you go.
I don't even remember him seeing them.
Well, one game that neither will certainly be involved in is hosting Celtic in that league opener at Tynecastle Park this coming Saturday.
Imagine if they are. Robbie just fucks it and just goes, I'm chucking Popescu, Demure, Roberts, everybody.
Well, this was building up to the dream scenario because I was going to say about how it's an 8 p.m. kickoff. There's no Celtic fans. Like, it just appeared a total, a total dream.
It's the best scenario if you want to play Celtic.
And yet, you're talking about Lloyd Demure and Jordan Roberts potentially featuring.
And Ross Stewart.
Oh, good God. Right. Anyway, Celtic come to town. They'll obviously have played on the night of the episode being released, actually. They're obviously in Denmark playing FC Midtjylland in their Champions League second round, qualifying second leg.
Yep.
So, after obviously a 1-1 draw, ties firmly in the balance. I'll be probably tuning in to kind of gain, some kind of scout report ahead of the weekend. But
is this you secretly? Is Robbie got you doing that? Are you the scout?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
I was like, we're fucked. If you're the scout, we're fucked.
I think we'd be better off with Stevie Wonder as a scout for Hearts.
Same. So do I.
But I was going to ask you, where can we win the game at the weekend? Because for me, I'm talking about scouting. I'm just going to move on. But for me, it's probably the wide areas, first and foremost. To be honest, I really fancy Gary Mackay-Steven and Josh Ginnelly up against probably Anthony Ralston. That's provided they don't sign this right back, and Greg Taylor.
I think the biggest one will be Gino against Greg Taylor. Because I think there's potentially quite a high chance that they're going to sign this right back before Saturday. The rumours are he's going to be signed on Friday, which would mean he's able to play. However, there is that element of GMS as a point to prove against the former side, so he might just have one of those games where it doesn't matter who's up against. Joshua Kimmich could be playing against him, and he's just like, nah. But I fully agree with you. All the good things that we've done in pre-season have come from out wide. And especially, as I say, Gino and Greg Taylor, I fully back Ginnelly in that altercation every single day of the week. The other obvious, blindingly obvious aspect is the goalkeepers. We'll have Craig Gordon, who is the better goalkeeper. Obviously, in the last couple of hours, I don't even know if you've seen this.
I have. Is this the Joe Hart rumour?
So it's the Joe Hart rumour.
I've seen it in the past couple of days. I think it's emerged. But Fabrizio Romano was tweeting about it today. So
yeah, that's how I saw it.
It might have legs. We don't know.
I think Joe Hart would not be a great signing for them. However, I know that if they sign him before Saturday, he'll have a blinder against us and then be hopeless the rest of the season.
And I'm not being funny. He's an upgrade on Scott Bain, Vasilius Barkas and Connor Hazard. I despise Celtic, but even I'm sort of looking at Barkas and thinking, I really wish you'd kept the receipt, because £5 million.
I'm loving it. I'm loving every second.
Really?
It's mental. It's just mental that also when you compound it with they spent $5 million in the process of letting Craig Gordon go.
Exactly. What of that $5 million fee could they have slapped on to a bumper deal for Craig Gordon for like a season or two? Yeah, exactly. It's mad. But you alluded to it earlier. You like the 3-4-3. So do I, and I think that's what he'll play. I'm assuming we're both going for the same team-wise, because we're going to touch on that, and then I want a score prediction before we eventually get into our season predictions.
Yeah, I'd go Gordon, the back three of Kingsley, Halke and Suter, wing backs of Cochrane and Smith. A two of probably, this is the big one, I'd personally drop Finlay Pollock.
So would I.
I'd go Herring and Halliday.
So would I.
Okay.
I think that's what he will go.
I think he will, just because, and that isn't me going, I don't think Finlay Pollock will be good enough to play against Celtic. That's not my point. It's just that that's so attacking, and Pollock himself is quite attacking. You kind of need Herring and Halliday.
Defensive stability.
Yeah, because Halliday can still go forward, as we've seen. But listen, I still am not totally sold on Halliday, but I will hold my hands up. He's had a good pre-season. I think he was pretty lost against Inverness. I don't think he did much against Inverness. But generally, I've kind of been like, right, you'll do. But
to be fair, against Inverness, he did drop in a sweeper, like we alluded to earlier as well.
That is very true. That's very true. This is the test, though. It's like, you're playing against proper opposition now.
It's a clash he'll be up for as well, mind.
Exactly. However, he was atrocious against Celtic in the final. So,
fair point.
Don't play like that, Andy. But yeah, and then I think Pollock would be good to bring on if you need energy as well in like the 70th minute or something like that. And then obviously the front three of GMS, Gino and Boyce.
So we've got an exact same 11.
Yeah.
Score prediction?
3-0 Celtic.
Love that optimism.
Actually, no. If Barkas plays, 3-1. I think we'll score if Barkas plays. If they've got Joe Hart in, or I genuinely think he might just like play Scott Bain.
Interesting.
I think if he doesn't have Hart in, I think he might just go, fuck this, I'm getting Hart in a couple of days. I'm playing Scott Bain.
The West Ham friendly, I mean, the second goal from Antonio has been highlighted numerous times. It's going to be very interesting to see what 11 he opts for tonight. And if he sticks by Barkas, then I'd imagine that'll be the case come the weekend. Obviously,
what if he has an absolute nightmare again tonight?
If they haven't, well, then
what do you want to happen tonight? Do you want Barkas to start and have a good game, so then Postecoglou keeps him in and he'll go back to form, or do you want Barkas to be in play and have another nightmare and you go, right, good, he's just not getting better, but then risk Postecoglou potentially going, right, I'm cutting my losses here, I'm not playing him?
The former, because I feel as though if it's the latter, they'll up the ante and chuck everything at Joe Hart.
That's fair. I think that's kind of where I am as well.
That's my honest prediction. I mean, I'm going to have to give a score prediction for who scored. It's going to be brilliant, giving my score predictions back for Hearts. I missed it. You know, like it was enough of a chore watching Hearts games in the Championship, but then I've got to obviously put out the predictions for Premiership games, and we're nowhere to be seen. It's a tough one because Celtic are obviously favourites with the bookies. I feel we can get something from them, though. I really do.
I hope so.
Just given how poor they are at the back. Whether that's 3 points or not, I don't know. I'm probably swaying towards a 1-1 draw, which I wouldn't turn my nose up at.
No, not at all. If we got a 1-0 draw, that would be like, you can never. It doesn't matter the situations that both clubs are in. It doesn't matter how poor Celtic have been or how good we've been or how.
It depends on the match itself, doesn't it? Because if we get a last minute equaliser, I'll be pleased.
Yeah.
If we concede a last minute equaliser, we'll be gutted. So I think everything else goes out the window. It's all about that 90 minutes, and within the 90, I feel as though we have got a chance. Genuinely.
I think that's fair. I've realised I've given 3-1 as a prediction, and it's on the 31st of July as well. So maybe that. Imagine if it's 3-1. Imagine if we just batter them. What would happen? I don't know what the fan base would do.
See the levels of arrogance that we would reach throughout the entirety of the season they're on in. Like I've got to be honest, I'm not feeling all that optimistic with regards to the season. We'll touch on this later on. But everything would just go out the window.
Yeah.
we'd be like, we're going to smash them at Parkhead, bring them on to the Scottish Cup. We'll knock them out of everything, better their league finish, and we'll win the treble.
I think that's pretty attainable as well if we beat Celtic as well. Right, let's get the season predictions actually. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Let's go for that.
So, Well, let's just ignore the fact that we're not going to take back our words just there and, and nip into the season.
Live by the sword, die by the sword, Adam. Come on. I mean, I have just predicted a 3-1 loss, but it's fine.
I'll say one each. Go on.
Okay.
We'll get something. We're both hoping for 3 points. Right, season predictions. Are you just wanting to go through it rapid fire, or are we wanting kind of a boring justification of why we think, so and so is going to be?
I don't have a lot of justification for mine. I'm very much just going with my heart. So, but we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
So we're just going to fire it out there.
Yeah. Right.
Player of the year.
Player of the year, Liam Boyce. I'm going 2 for 2. I got it right last year, in my opinion. I know technically Gordon won it, but Boyce was my player of the year last season.
Okay.
I just think if he's probably going to be our top goal scorer. Hopefully we have a good season, and it's as a result of him getting goals. I believe in Liam Boyce. It's not just because he's coming on the podcast next week and I'm being nice to him. I genuinely think he will be. What about you?
I'm going to go different because it'd be boring to be the same. I'm going to go for a player that I've backed from day dot and that I believe can contribute in the top flight, and I'm going Gary Mackay-Steven. There you are. I think he'll have a good season for us. I really, really do. I think there's plenty more to come. And I'm sticking by my guy. So GMS. And I don't want to just go down the same route, but I feel as though we will for Young Player of the Year. I think we've already seen him throughout the group stage, to be honest. I'll be amazed if it's not.
I was waiting for you to say it. I thought you were going to say it.
Well, Finlay Pollock it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really. That's the only contender. Top goal scorer, again, probably only one contender.
Liam Boyce. Unless we sign like a striker. Because that's the thing. We're doing this, remember, on the 28th of July. If you start listening to this in October and we've signed Andy Carroll and he's got 20 goals, then you can accept us not...
You're not still on this Andy Carroll bandwagon.
He's coming to Gorgie. It's got to be clapped. He is. I can't wait.
Right, so, well... Let's just talk about it then. Star signing. You're going to say Andy Carroll once
Andy Carroll.
Paper.
Yes. But that's the thing. With star signing, just now, we can only go with either Gino or Alex Cochrane. And it's probably going to be Ginelli.
Yeah. And this is the one where we'll differ. Where will we finish?
Right now, with the current squad, I think we'll get 5th. If we make additions, I think we'll get top 4.
442 said that, by the way. 5th.
Did they?
I bought the wee season preview. My dad called me a saddle, but I like 442 season preview. I always have.
I didn't even know they'd released it.
Well, there you go. They've put us 5th. I could get the table up for you if you want, but I don't think we'll be as high as that.
See if you say anything less than 6th, I'm going to hit you. You think like 9th or something?
No. You've seen my tweet, have you not? Or have you not?
No, I haven't seen it.
I predict that Heart and Midlothian will finish in 7th place. Right now. With this...
So, can I guess the teams you think are going to finish above us?
Right, okay, yeah.
Old Firm, Aberdeen Hibs.
Yep.
St Johnstone.
Yep.
St Mirren?
Correct.
I think we'll finish above St Mirren. And St Johnstone, because St Johnstone will be in Europe. We'll be more tired.
What, you reckon St Johnstone will drop into the conference then? Because they're not getting past Galatasaray.
Nah, exactly. I think we'll finish. I think above us will be Old Firm, Hibs and Aberdeen, and then we'll finish 5th. But if we get additions, however, though, I think Aberdeen will finish 4th, and there's a chance we could beat them. I just think Stephen Glass is going to have an absolute nightmare.
So you think Hibs will finish 3rd?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, I can't remember my table. I think I can't remember who I put. I might well have put that. Sorry.
They just don't look like any signs of slowing down. Like they're just doing very well.
Oh God, this is a nightmare, isn't it? It really is.
Great.
What do you reckon for the rest of the league? Have you got like a league table in mind?
I don't have a proper one. I can make one. I know my top 6, as I just said there.
Right. Okay. Talk to me because I'm going to find mine whilst you go.
So I think Rangers will win the league. Celtic will finish 2nd. Hibs will finish 3rd. Aberdeen will finish 4th. We'll finish 5th. However, again, as I say, that could change with signings. We could finish 4th and they could finish 5th. St Johnstone will finish 6th. St Mirren will finish 7th. Dundee United will finish... No, Dundee United I think will get relegated. I think Dundee United will finish bottom of the league.
Do you?
Either them or Ross County. I think Dundee United will be 11th. Dundee United and Ross County will be 11th and 12th. I just don't know the order of that.
Oof.
Livingston will be 10th. Motherwell will be 9th. And whoever missed out?
You missing Dundee?
Dundee will be 8th.
Wow. I've not got Dundee as high as 8th. I've gone...
I kind of forgot Dundee were in the league. I'm not going to lie. They might be a wee bit... Swap.
It all depends on how long James McPake's given.
Yeah.
Which is why I've got them 10th.
That's fair.
I'm going Rangers first, Celtic second. Oh, I've got St Johnstone third. That's not going to happen.
I think either St Johnstone I think they'll do one of what we said. I think they'll either finish just in the top 6 or they will just finish third and like just have another amazing season.
Because I think they've done really well to keep a hold of their younger players in
particular. I
particular.
cannot believe they've kept the players that they have.
The back three, Ali McCann, I'm amazed they've kept a hold of.
Yeah.
Sean Rooney again.
In
I've seen a
fairness,
couple
though,
of Rotherham bids.
there is still a month left of the transfer window.
True. Oh, okay. Yeah. So as of the 28th of July, here's how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
I've got Rangers first, Celtic second, St Johnstone third, Hibs in fourth, Aberdeen fifth, St Mirren sixth, us in seventh, Motherwell eighth. Might be a bit too high. I've gone Dundee United ninth, Dundee 10th, Ross County 11th, and Livingston to get automatically relegated.
Wow, that's a big call.
That is a big call, and I've got justification for it. I watched Livingston a couple of times towards the back end of last season, and whenever I watched them, it felt as though the goal was only going to come from J. Emmanuel Thomas. He's off to Aberdeen. Mm-hmm. Scott Robinson didn't play towards the latter stages when Livy went on a torrid run, and it was very Levine-esque. You know, the season where we started, you know, all guns blazing, top of the league, flying, and then we just had an absolute nuke towards the latter end of the season. I think Livingston have done exactly that under David Martindale. I don't know how long they'll give it. And yeah, loss of a few key players. I think Lithgow at the back, the Jet, Scott Robinson. Yeah, man. I'm backing Livy straight for the drop.
I think Motherwell could as well. Motherwell look atrocious.
I was out with my Motherwell mates at the weekend, and they're very worried. Yeah, it's not looking good, but it's very interesting. It's just nice to be back in the top league, isn't it?
I know. I'm so relieved that I don't have to give a shit about any other league in Scotland. It's such it's like, okay, we're back to normal.
Have you got any other predictions? What do you reckon in the championship? Who'll come up?
I don't necessarily know who'll come up. But I don't think Killie will. I think Killie will stay down.
Do you?
For at least a season. I think they'll do a Dundee United and just like stay there for a wee while. Or a Dundee. It's not that rare. That's the thing. Like if there was an exemption to the rule, if it was like, and fucking Hibs did it as well.
Hibs had 3 years. That's the main one we've got to chuck in there.
That's the thing. If Hibs can spend 3 years in the championship, there's no reason anybody else out with the old firm and us. And Aberdeen probably can't do the same. Like everybody else could. And I just think Killie have just lost players, particularly like Lafferty, who got them goals that didn't even end up saving them, but they would have been down far earlier. They now don't even have that.
Had they signed Lafferty earlier, he'd have kept them up.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So who do you want up? Or who do you think will come up?
I want Inverness to come up.
Do you?
I hope Inverness come up.
I can't see that, but
I can't see either. Right. But I hope they do.
Who do you think will?
I think Dunfermline will.
Oh, I'd love that.
I think Dunfermline will, and then I think Hamilton will win in the playoffs and come up as well.
Wow!
Just because it's Hamilton, just because it's them.
They've had a season away, and
we're back. We made the playoffs originally, so we're coming back again.
What a scary thought.
Or they'll get relegated again and just like go back to League One, and it's just like the worst thing in the world. What about you though? Who do you think's going to come up?
I really don't know. I feel as though Killie have recruited pretty well. I mean, I touched on Scott Robinson. I think that's a brilliant signing considering he was linked with a couple Premiership clubs. Maybe just Killie. But I would love Dunfermline to come up, obviously, from my pals. As for the playoffs, I mean, I don't know really. I think Thistle will surprise a fair few folk.
Partick Thistle. God, I forgot about Thistle.
Folk are forgetting they're a newly promoted team, but they can't be as bad as their last championship campaign. be very interesting to see who makes up that kind of top four in the Championship. Definitely.
I'm interested to see if Wraith can replicate their form of last season.
Very true. Lost some big players.
Yeah, Regan Hendry's a massive loss for them. I don't know how Wraith have recruited. Like, I've no idea how they've done.
They signed a few kind of pre-contracts back in January, but I mean, there was talk of kind of them potentially sort of nicking a place in the Premiership. The pre-contracts that they had signed, they're not Premiership signings. They are Championship signings, but we'll wait and see. I'm just so pleased. I mean, it's great looking at the Championship as a neutral. It's great being back in the top tier and having a genuine interest, because last season was tough, man.
100%. That's quite a good point to end it on. That's well done. Like, we're back where we should be. We're going to get absolutely battered on Saturday, but I'll still be having. Oh yeah, I should do that because I'm not horrible like you. On Saturday, it's my mum's 50th, so early happy 50th to my mum. So regardless of the result, I'll be having a good day. You dare have that. But
positivity till about 9:45.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll just have all evaporated.
Yeah. So yeah, massive thank you for listening. I know it's been a long one, but we had so much. We had 2 games. There's been a delay in us recording, so we had predictions to make and everything like that. So
I had loads to speak about as a host. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Adam actually had shit that wasn't negative to speak about completely. So massive thank you for listening. Next week is the big 50th episode, and we will be joined by Liam Boyce. It's very exciting. We hope you will tune in for that. Obviously, we'll be speaking about everything in the fallout. However, I will be speaking to Liam before the Celtic game. So if he scores a hat-trick, don't ask why I didn't ask him about it. If he gets sent off, don't ask why I didn't ask about it.
Misses a sitter.
Exactly. It'll be before that.
He won't. He'll tuck one away against that fraud. 100%.
He's hoping. So, thank you all for listening. We are at Perth to Paisley on all forms of social media. You can also get us on YouTube if you want to watch me absolutely dying in this heat. I've got a ring light on that is just shining a light in my face and it is melting. So that's great. Please subscribe and like the YouTube video. It really helps with algorithms. Also, leave us a review on your platform of choice. If you're just listening, it massively helps algorithms there. All the socials are below us, and the email if you want to get in contact, perthpaisley@gmail.com. Adam, where can they get you on social media?
They can get me on all the socials at Adam T. Kendo. And yourself, mate?
I'm at dmcIver22. So yes, 50th episode next week. We'll be with Liam Boyce. We'll be speaking about all the fallout of the Celtic game. We'll be previewing the St Mirren game. Whole bunch of stuff. Hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Seems ironic as somebody that's predicted us to finish 7th, but keep the faith. One of the JTs.